Hello everyone, today I'm going to be making an announcement that unfortunately will probably be disappointing to a lot of you. As of the upcoming couple weeks, I will be entering a near full retirement of OOTP content creation. In this video, I intend to answer as many questions as I can about it, but if you have anything else that you want to ask me, don't hesitate to drop a question in the comments or join my Discord after watching this video. In this video, I'm going to cover how we got here, the biggest reasons that I've decided to retire, what my content releases are going to be coming up because there are still going to be a couple of things I'm going to do before I fully retire, and what the future looks like both for me in the OOTP world and separate from it. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump into it because we got a lot to do. As many of you may have noticed, my content production was by far its greatest during 2020 and into 2020-21. So during this time, I made a lot of videos and they were pretty high quality, especially considering that I now know more about OOTP than I did then, and my content was not necessarily as good as it was at that time. During 2021, a number of factors led to a massive drop-off in my content production that I haven't discussed much. First factor was a decline in my mental health around July 2021 that affected my drive to produce content and, in all honesty, the quality of my content. I definitely believe that that period of time, immediately after July 2021, probably for the rest of 2021 really, was the worst quality of content that I made in my time as an OOTP content producer. The second factor was actually an issue involving Out of the Park Developments, the developer that makes Out of the Park Baseball. As some of you may remember, in 2020 to 2021, OOTP built a group of streamers who created content, strong quality content, and were very popular in the community that could stream on their official channel, and this was known as the Stream Team. So Rich, who is very large in the OOTP world, invited me to join the Stream Team around June, and I started out in July. So you'll remember this is right as my mental health problem hit. So partially because that, partially because I didn't really like OOTP Go. That stream was kind of questionable in how good it actually was in its successful level. But anyways, about a month after I started, one of the most prominent and brightest figures of the OOTP Perfect Team world at the time dropped a massive bombshell, revealing a major scandal that took place in the OOTP world during PT21, and some events that ultimately led up to him getting targeted by the current Will group and getting banned from OOTP altogether. Very shortly after that, Come To Us issued an order to terminate the Stream Team altogether, so no one would continue to stream content on the OOTP channel except official OOTP employees. This was presumably done in retaliation to that event happening on a channel of someone who was at the time a very popular streamer, although he was not on the Stream Team. I found this to be very frustrating, and this was really the first major step towards the end of my relationship with OOTP. Rich managed to fight for a compensatory program, which is known as the affiliates these days, that allowed people to get drops on their own individual channels, though they would no longer be able to string on the OOTP channel, and would allow for a larger number of streamers to participate in the program at some point down the road. The former Stream Team was the first people invited to the program, so I joined it immediately. At this point, I was also getting relatively fed up with PT. It just wasn't fun for me anymore. It was becoming more of a money-focused thing and less of a competitive environment at this point. And I was becoming obvious that I was not going to be able to build a truly strong competitive for Perfect League team this year. I was going to be perpetually stuck in Diamond. So I was losing interest in the possibility of competing for a championship as well. At this point, a couple of other large figures in my sober Discord started tanking as a group, which is against terms of service, and they competed to see how efficient they could make the process, who could make the most perfect points per week, and they collected a large amount of data in their efforts. They decided to build a tanking league, where the group would essentially create a friends list in Perfect Team, and join together in one league where they'd have about 20 out of the 30 teams would be the tankers, starting in about 4 weeks from that point. So I was probably in Diamond or something. I was definitely at least in Gold at the time. And I decided that this would actually be a really interesting opportunity to taste how the baseline functions in extreme Perfect Team environments, because they essentially compensate for how the league is built, so you can't just do extreme offense, no pitching, and have 80 runs scored a game, essentially. Anyways, I started preparing my team to fall down to Rookie League so I could join this group. I knew that tanking was against the terms of service. There's almost no recorded history of this actually being enforced. I mean, for the most part, terms of service and perfect team really up to this point was not enforced at all, beyond just like a warning here and there and then the occasional follow up, but almost never would people actually get in trouble for the terms of service violations. Anyways, at this point, I was also fed up enough that I didn't really care about my affiliate status or my perfect team anyways, so I decided that whatever, it's worth the risk. I'm interested in seeing how this functions. I'm interested in the data collection. And I really only care about my tournament teams anyway, so let's go ahead and do this. So I tanked down and even continued to do PT streams where you could clearly see that my team was tanking. I was doing horrible in leagues that were much lower than I'd been in the past. Anyways, the week I reached the Rookie League was, I believe, the second week of the Friends list. So there was 1 week where this league already happened. And that was week number 2. Some interesting data was collected and some interesting results yielded. However, on Monday or Tuesday, I'm pretty sure it was Tuesday of the next week, about 95% of the teams that were in the Friends list got a temporary ban, saying that they had violated the terms of service for intentionally losing games. Some alts were permanently banned for the entire cycle, so some people just lost their alt accounts. Notably, however, I had not yet had my affiliate status revoked, and I still remained connected to OOTP in all the same ways that I was before receiving the temporary ban. So essentially, at this point, I thought, okay, whatever, I'm just temporarily banned. Everything's going to be fine. I'm probably done with PT at this point, but I can keep doing my base game streams. However, later in that week, as a moderator in the main Discord, I had to deal with some people who were causing trouble. One of them sent me a DM threatening to out me publicly for tanking if I continued to moderate them. More importantly, though, this group of people appears to have complained to OOTP personnel about my tanking after this event happened. And at that point, essentially, OOTP stripped me of my affiliate status the next day and removed me as a moderator in the Discord. Furthermore, the way that the PT community received news of the tanking league was perplexing to me. A number of other people in the league were in our friends status, or in our friends. A number of people in this league were in friends lists, which are essentially groups of people who play PT together. And a couple of them were even in the same group that I was at the time. However, I alone faced serious backlash from my friends list. No one else really got in serious trouble with their friends lists. Now, I did use my main account where most other people used their alt accounts or whatever, but nonetheless, they were involved in it. I would also note here that this was not necessarily a unanimous case within the friends list. In fact, a number of people that may have even been a majority attempted to defend me to the friends list as a whole. However, in the end, enough people in the group decided that they weren't comfortable with my actions that I was kicked out of the friends list. Just to be clear here, I have no issue with the decision to kick me out, and I have absolutely no hard feelings on the people who felt that way. They had every right to be uncomfortable with my violation of terms of service. However, the fact that it was only me who came under scrutiny for the violation, I do take issue with. Anyways, at this point, I retired as a streamer. This was something I was considering anyways at the time to focus on my YouTube content, and swore off PT. I still have not played PT since the day I was banned. I essentially set my team to auto roster and have not touched it, and I have not played PT 23 or 24. I also took about a month and a half hiatus from OOTP as a whole. At this point, I was incredibly frustrated at OOTP developments, both for the initial termination of the stream team and for only severing their official ties with me after a group of whales complained to them about me. Later on, I learned that at least one person who was involved in the league became an affiliate later, which confused me to an even greater extent that they made the decision that I would never be allowed back as an affiliate. Anyways, I came back to the OOTP world, decided I was done with PT, and that it wasn't worth dealing with the parts of the community that had retaliated against me. For the record, to my knowledge, it may have completely been about my willingness to publicly share data that these people decided to get on my case in the first place. I got back into the base game content creation at this point. However, this was my senior year of high school, and the workload for my special program was downright brutal. I was running into issues of not having pretty much any time for OTP content, and my mental health was going down as well, especially with the release of 23 in April. I did not have much time to deal with OTP. Anyways, my mental health issues were also affecting my long-term willingness to create content. Over the summer, I finally got around to making some videos, but my release rate was never the same as it was before the incident where I had my ties cut with OTP. When the college year started with me, I put OTP aside, even though the workload really wasn't that much because I just wasn't that interested in making videos. I did make a couple videos last semester, but never really got strongly back into content creation, and that pretty much brings us to the present right now, the beginning of summer, where I am announcing my retirement. So, why am I retiring? Honestly, the biggest reason is my rift with OOTP. It became very clear to me when OOTP cut their ties with me, especially because the circumstances were what they were, that the only thing that matters to the company as a whole, and I'm not saying this is necessarily about specific individuals, I believe there are absolutely people in the company who want to make OOTP a quality game, but the company as a whole, their priority is money. And that means potentially, and if somebody might cost them a few $1,000s, as they might have been in a position with me where there were a couple of people who collectively invested a decent chunk of money into the game, they would not hesitate to axe anybody in the OOTP world to make some money. However, this chase for money has also spread well beyond that singular decision of my eyes. I'll be diving to greater depth on this in a later video, but especially Undercome to Us, it's become very clear to me that the quality of the OOTP games has, for almost no reason, dipped, and their desire to make a quality baseball simulator has completely been thrown out in favor of profits at this point. Furthermore, OOTP has shown time and time again that as a developer, they really do not care. PT constantly experiences glitches that affect thousands upon thousands of people that are generally relatively avoidable. Historical games are still about as bad as they were in OTP 20 when I started playing, and probably even before that, really. I just have no recorded history of what they were like before that point. And the company has experienced scandal after scandal since I got involved. The second reason is related to the first, the drop in quality of OOTP. When I first started playing, OOTP was a pretty strong, in-depth baseball simulator with the best trade engine and AI logic that I had ever seen in baseball simulators. The AI got better every year, new features usually added something concrete to the game, and PT was enjoyable. In 23, a number of features, especially PT, took a major hit, especially at launch, but the new engine helped to make up for it since they restructured it to be a lot more realistic. And the AI got back to about 22 levels later throughout the cycle with some updates and patches. This year, though, OOTP 24 is by far the worst version of OOTP I have ever played. That includes 20. The only new feature in the game that improves it at all, to me, is the new international amateur system, which is frankly ridiculously unbalanced. And the AI and finances are a complete mess this year, which is completely out of left field since last year they were at a pretty good place, but this year just absolutely awful. At this point, OOTP is just way too easy for me, even on its hardest difficulties. And even though the game will soon have been out for about 2 months, very little has actually been done to tweak it. The game is about as bad as it was at launch in terms of the finances and AI mess, which I think is just unacceptable given the state that they were even as recently as 23, and the fact that it's worse than it was in 20 when I started playing. PT, while I haven't played it all, is a literal joke this year from what I've seen and heard from other people, and just taking a look at it briefly, it's very obvious that it's not, it's just ridiculous. Now, yes, my perspective of the game is absolutely skewed by the fact that I have tens of thousands of hours in it, and it is probably still enjoyable for the average player or a casual person. But I'm not telling you about what to think about the OOTP game. I'm telling you what to think about the developer, and that is something to consider. The third reason that I'm retiring is related to my content and its nature. I could absolutely make general tutorials, and I have done that to some extent, but you're already getting those from people like Alex and PF Holden. There are plenty of good sources out there for you guys to go see good tutorials. I'm perfectly happy with the content that's coming out from these people. It's good stuff. So I could either spend thousands of hours of my time making somewhat redundant content, or I could build for my specific niche, which is advanced OOTP concepts and data-driven game analysis. The demand for that content, however, is very low compared to the other option. Realistically, very few people play OOTP enough to be at the point where my kind of stuff is usually important, and of that group, many will be happy with where they are and not really care for my content anyways. As such, and although I am pretty sure that this is partially driven by my inconsistent and less than content production over the past year and a half, my view counts are pathetic compared to other top OOTP YouTubers and OOTP YouTube videos. I'm in no way insulted by this, or think that it's an indictment of my channel. It's just the reality of the kind of content I'm making. Given the amount of effort, however, that it takes to make my videos, it just isn't worth it to cater to such a small audience. I'm really sorry for all of you who fit into that group, since you absolutely deserve to have some kind of content out there for you, but it's just a lot of work for a relatively small return towards the community. The fourth reason that I'm doing this is related to my mental health. My mental health is totally unpredictable, as it is with most people, but going back for about 2 years now, it has been a major factor in the consistency and quality of the content that I have been able to produce. I've been in a decent place for the most part for a little while, but doing OTP stuff is just not good for my mental health for the most part. I've loved making content and doing data analysis, but the way OTP is running the game and the toxic parts of the community have absolutely lessened the experience for me. Furthermore, my general mental state clearly affects my ability to produce content, so it's kind of a negative loop that just makes it a pain to produce good content for you guys. Fifth reason that I'm retiring is that OTP is a pain in the ass to solve. I am by no means an advanced data scientist, since I'm still relatively early in my degree procession, but I am smart, I understand statistics very well, and I am pretty good at collecting data, and I poured a lot of time into understanding the game. However, there are some elements about OOTP, like BABIP, which is a ridiculously complicated formula, defensive statistics, true strikeout rate, and individual pitch elements that are just so unnecessarily complex in how they work with the game, so horribly explained by the company and how they work, and so difficult to solve that it is obvious that they are the way they are just so that people will struggle to model and understand them. Now, for me, I kind of do understand them because I have spent a lot of time working on it. I have a very good knowledge of how the game works, how specific ratings function, etc. But for the average person, that's just ridiculous to me. In my opinion, I'd much rather see OOTP have the ability to be challenging even when solved, rather than just being impossible to solve. And frankly, even with it being impossible to solve, it's still not that challenging to me. Anyways, the sixth reason is for a side project that I've begun work on that would be a very big deal if I can complete it. It's a massive project, so don't expect any news on it for at least 5 years, I'm expecting, if I am to ever complete it. However, this side project will be more important than anything I've ever done in OOTP if I do complete it, so I want to put all of my efforts into it right now so I can get going on it. I'll not be divulging any details on this project until it is about 80 to 90% complete, and I'm confident I will have it done within a year and a half at the most from that point. So do not ask me about this project right now. I will not be telling any more about it. Anyways, I am absolutely going to retire, but it won't be happening immediately. I do still have a couple of content plans ready before I finish completely. First off will be a review of OOTP using some data I've collected from the community in my Discord server, and where I'd like to see OOTP go in the future. This should be coming over the next few days at the latest. I expect that it might even be done today. The second thing will be a collection of all my best advice for OOTP for new players and veterans alike. I might also include a couple of my best videos that people can refer to in this video. It will also be very general for the most part, so everything will be up to date for 24, and it will help pretty much anybody just with strategy, planning, ways to think about the game, etc. The third thing I'll be doing will be a discussion about defense in OOTP right now, since I haven't posted anything about it since early 23, which was changed even during 23, and I truly believe defense is the most misunderstood thing about the OTP world as a whole. This will dive into how important each rating and position is right now, what each defensive statistic OTP has means, and how to value your filters overall. I truly believe that there is very little out there about defense. I think that's the biggest thing I bring to the table at OTP because so few people understand defense, so many people misunderstand defense, and so few people have content about how defense works that actually makes sense to me. Or actually is right, I should say. Anyways, the fourth thing will be an endorsement of the best content creators left out there for OTP. I'll be spending some time doing research, lurking in people's Twitch chats, and watching YouTube videos in the coming weeks to determine who has the highest quality content and the most insightful stuff. And then I'll be making a list to recommend you guys in my absence. I will also talk about in this video how long my content will be relevant for and when it will likely stop being viable, since the whole point of this is to give you guys alternatives to my stuff and some other people to look at. Anyways, the fifth thing I'm going to be doing, I will be bringing on a PT player to help me out with this. We're going to be discussing the shortcomings of OTP as a developer, how the game has become a money grab at the expense of its quality, and how the game has kind of alienated some of the golden era of data and some of the biggest people who have participated in recent years. Now, these are not necessarily the only things I'm going to be doing, just the only things I'm promising to make. All 5 of these videos will be made. The most likely things you could see in addition to these videos are a mini-series on trade difficulty in 24 Engine and a mini-series on the different game modes of OTP, so live stars, historical, fictional, PT. However, and I'm 100% setting this, July is the last month I will be making content for OTP, period. The only exception is video number 4, which I may not release until August if I need to, since I absolutely want to get it right, but I guarantee that these videos will be done certainly by July. I mean, that's 4 videos with 2 months and a week. It's plenty of time. Anyways, you're probably wondering what's next for me within OOTP. Well, I won't be gone. I'm going to continue to run Silver, which is my Discord server, and I will continue to be regularly active there. I will have a link to it in the description if you want to join the server and keep in touch with me. Likewise, I'll occasionally pop up on the Reddit as I have over the past couple of years, and I'll answer any DMs both in Reddit and in the Discord that you want to send me about OTP. I'm not ruling out making OTP content in the future, though it is very, very, very unlikely that I will ever make regular content again. And I definitely won't make content at the rate I did during 21/22 ever again. I think what you're probably going to look at is if I do come back, it would be at the rate I did during 23, and a lot of things are going to have to change if we're ever going to get to that point, even just that point. Now that said, I will probably make an annual review of the OTP every year at launch, and I might continue to make videos on data once a year, or defensive data once a year, since again, I really think people struggle to understand it, and I don't think anyone else out there is making content on defense that I am happy with. But that's about it. I'm also more than willing to join other content creators on your channels or whatever if you want to ask me to do so and run data analysis or whatever you want. So if you're interested in having me, just let me know. Anyways, as for playing OTP, I just really don't see a reason to. For me, it's now trivially easy. 24 is a freaking mess. I'll probably play it a little bit now and then, and I'll likely play a decent amount at launch every year, but unless OTP gets significantly better, I will not be regularly playing the game again. As for data analysis, I'll probably be willing to do some more as requested by people for content or whatever specific cases, but I likely won't be doing much on my own anymore. However, this is more likely to change than the rest of the stuff because I love doing data analysis. On that note, I'm sure you're all wondering about MOPS 2.0. Well, it's well along, and I hate to scrap it at this point since I put so much time into it, and I know it's reasonably well anticipated, but that's where I'm leaning right now. It would be an incredibly powerful team building a player analysis tool when finished, and it would work indefinitely for OTP Future, But I've hit a few issues while building it, mostly related to the issue of OOTP being built to be a pain in the ass to solve, as I mentioned above. If a lot of people really want it, however, and put a comment in here or DM me or whatever, I will be open to finishing it in a slightly unpolished form, so just patching stuff together, getting over the finish line with it as it is, to a point where I'm happy enough to release it. It wouldn't be quite as accurate, especially in player analysis, as I want. I was aiming for a very high degree of player analysis accuracy, but I'm thinking there will be a decent error in some cases if I were to release it at this point. But otherwise, it likely will not be done if I don't get a lot of people requesting it. If you have any other questions about my future in OOTP, do not hesitate to drop a comment or message me, but that's all I've got for right here. Now, in general, just because I'm stepping away from OOTP doesn't mean I'm done. As a content creator, I will probably occasionally post general baseball content, like the last video I made about the relative value of run prevention to run scoring, or the video I recently made about the video I made a little while ago about Archie Bradley's triple. For what it's worth, if you haven't watched either of those videos, I would strongly recommend them, as I believe both are some of the finest content I've ever made in my time. I'm guessing my last video was probably a little bit too math heavy though, so I'll be working to find a good balance on that in the future. These videos will release a lot less frequently than my OOTP videos, and they definitely not release regularly. You can maybe expect one every couple months, and I'm not committed to them, so if they really struggle to get views and I'm not enjoying them, I'll probably stop making those as well. But for now, that is my plan as a content creator, to switch to baseball, general baseball stuff. Finally, I will continue work on my side project that I mentioned earlier, and I might post a few teases very, very rarely as I make significant progress on them, just to keep people interested. But that is absolutely my top priority right now. Working on that side project is the number one thing I want to focus on going forwards. I will also not rule out making content occasionally for other games, although I don't really want to get involved as a content creator for other games like I did with OOTP. In the meantime, though, watch sober for the occasional impulse to blob stream. Before I retire, I want to, last thing here, give some huge thanks to people who really deserve it. My first big thanks goes out to Paco, Tex, and Ben, who are among the first people to join the sober community and help take it off the ground. You guys are all awesome and bright. You're a big deal to me in getting where I am and just in general, and I am super grateful for all you've done. I especially want to give a huge thanks to Ben, though, who's been a great friend of mine in my time doing OOTP stuff and has been a major presence in sober to this day. Over the course of 2.5 years or whatever, Ben has been a huge deal in my efforts with OOTP. He was probably my most frequent guest on streams and whatever. Definitely a huge deal. Ben, I really appreciate all you've done. Next up, I want to give a huge shout out to Euchre and Kazumi, the first other major content creator other than myself to join sober, and someone who's been a really good friend to me in my time doing OOTP. It's been awesome working with you over the years, and the OOTP world is absolutely blessed to have you. No one brings the same kind of fun factor and spunk to the game to combine with your brilliant and entertaining insight, and your support in my journey has been absolutely invaluable. Yuka, I will continue to drop in on your streams every now and then, I promise that, and I will absolutely continue to support you in any way I can. I really appreciate you, and I really think that you are some of the finest that OOTP has ever had. Next up, I want to thank your Kidneys, who was on board pretty early as well. Kidneys has done a ton for the OOTP PT world, and they are very lucky to have you. You've also done a ton in my journey for data analysis. And I know you have said yourself that some people in the OOTP world have pushed you to be a better data analyst. That goes absolutely true for you to me as well. There have been plenty of times where I have changed things or realized that something needed to improve, or been interested in looking into something or fixing my model in some way because of something that you said to me or something that we talked about. And I definitely think that when it comes to my data analysis over the course of my lifetime in OOTP, You have been the biggest factor in me improving as a whole. So I really, really want to thank you for that and all else that you've done for me as a content creator. Fortunately, for everyone out there, Kidneys also has recently retired as a content creator from OOTP. So that is a loss that the OOTP world will feel for a while. I also want to give a big thanks to Alex Murray, who is one of the best and brightest people in the OOTP world and in the OOTP company. All you do for OOTP brings a great understanding of the community and a whole lot of fun with it. Backyard baseball, Science Saturday, going back for years, Alex, you've been a huge deal for everyone. You've definitely been a huge inspiration to me, especially early on, for getting better with my understanding of the game and knowing that as a content creator, it's my responsibility to help people to learn the game and to have fun with it. So, really appreciate you, Alex. OTP is very lucky to have you. And I really look forward to all that you're going to be doing in the future with Backyard Baseball, your tutorials, and everything else. Next up, I want to give DishNet34 a huge shout out. Your energy and insights to OTP bring PT to a whole new level. It would not be the same without you, and I truly mean that. There is no one suited to be better suited to be running the shows than you, DishNet. I really enjoy every time I drop in to This Week in Perfect Team or anything else you do. That's as someone who doesn't even like PT anymore. You are just such an enjoyable person to watch, such an enjoyable person to talk to. Really appreciate you, DishNet. I also want to give a huge shout out to Bullcups, who's been a huge part of the sober community and has constantly pushed me to be a better analyst as well. Bullcups, very smart with baseball, constantly asking questions about things, poking holes in my stuff, and I really appreciate that. Helps a lot to improve, and you're asking all the right questions, Bullcubs. OTP, everywhere you are, you just make the game so much more fun, and I really appreciate all that you've done for me as well. Last big shout out I want to give is to Chimera, whose brilliant analysis and care for the community has really helped to elevate the understanding of the game at its core more than pretty much anything else. I think you and Alex really big job do a great job helping people understand the game, especially when it comes to specific ratings and a lot of the problems people have. I think with a lot of the confusion that I've been trying to overwrite Chimera, you're pretty much the only person out there who's doing an even better job than me. So I really, really appreciate all that you're doing. For OCP, and I look forward to seeing all that you do in the future as well. Now, I also want to give a secondary shout out to a group of people, which includes Slibbard, Pidge, Charles, Crash, Olden Sloan, RDT, along with a whole bunch of other people I'm certainly forgetting, especially from my time as a PT player. I want all of you that I have listed to know that you mean a whole lot more to me than any words I could possibly put in here, and I really, really appreciate all of you guys for all the work you've done for me and OATP as a whole. I also want to tell you guys that I will be, for the people in here who are content creators, linking their stuff in the description of this video so you can go check them out. I strongly recommend everyone that I have named, all great people with brilliant content, and yeah. You guys, I also want to give a big shout out to everyone who is active in my sober Discord. You guys are the best of the OCP world, and I'm really glad to have all of you. Finally, I want to thank my supporters over these years. Nothing that I have done would have been possible without you guys, and I am really glad to have had the opportunity to serve you for the past 3 years. With that, guys, I'm going to be calling it. Again, let me know if you have absolutely any questions about anything I said in this video, about my retirement, whatever. And join my Discord if you'd like to keep following and supporting me. Or if you'd just like to stay connected with me about OTP or just the community in general. It's been an amazing 3 years of content, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching.